Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Season 1, Episode 5, Cassandra v. Eugene. You know, this is a good time as any to mention that I've been watching the intro each time to see if it changes, because we had all discussion about that during the Donkey Kong Country show. It was actually pretty common practice in the 90s to have a changing intro. I imagine this one will change, but the thing is, because of the nature of the notebook, they could change it like per episode if they really wanted to. Or do something similar to what Clone Wars did, like with those opening quotes. I haven't noticed any changes so far. Yeah, maybe it's a per season thing. But I don't know. I'm curious. I really am. And so I've been paying attention. I've been watching the intro each time, Ross. Just this once. As usual, Rapunzel is a crazy good painter. You know what really pisses me off? It's all Eugene. No, it really is. So, let's cover this back and forth really quick. I'm gonna risk a copy wrong because I want you to hear this. Okay, so we're just gonna do audio. Hang on, I'm gonna have to adjust a few things here really quick. The song's definitely gonna be copy wrong, but let's listen to a little bit of this argument here, shall we? So, she's yelling at him, okay.
I don't know what you're so upset about. Oh, wait. No was the wrong choice of words. I meant, I don't care what you're so upset about.
Okay, so, you notice that's the first bit of dialogue in the episode. She's upset about something, and he says, I don't know what you're concerned about. Wait, what I meant was I don't care what you're concerned about. I feel so weird pointing out how assholic that is, but that's the pattern of his writing. That's the approach here, right? Like that's the structure of his sentencing. Okay, so here's another one.
Hey guys, everything okay? I couldn't help but overhear. Not only did you take my halberd without asking, you got your disgusting hair all over it.
So Cassandra is upset because something that is hers is something that he stole without permission and got his hair all over it. Okay, now there's several ways he could respond to that. His response is,
How dare you?
first of all, he immediately goes for the counter insult.
First of all, I did not touch your halberd.
So he goes for the flight denial.
Second of all, what is a halberd?
Also, he's stupid. Please laugh. She holds up the halberd.
Oh, a halberd. Okay, fine, you got me. But check out this shave.
So he now admits to having done it, is completely unapologetic. Did you notice, by the way, that in the structure of how this dialogue is being put forth, there is an opener there, right? An opener for him to say, oh, I'm sorry, or to just show a little bit of humility or respect or understanding or tolerance or kindness or anything. Instead, he is completely none of those things and just says, oh, yeah, no, I totally stole it. And check out how great of a shave I got out of it.
Smooth as a baby's bottom.
What?
Try a monkey's.
Okay.
So hang on, so we're going to skip forward a little bit. Hang on, so
Take a deep, calming, cleansing breath.
To be fair, I asked several times if I could use that thing.
So he then says, I asked several times if I could use your halberd. To which she says,
And I said no every time.
which then makes it totally okay because he's going to take it, right? Right? I mean, it's something I wanted and I asked politely, but you didn't give it to me, so I just took it. This is the kind of thing that we have literally been teaching to 4-year-olds. Forgive me for being a little bit irritable about here, because this is something that we literally have been teaching my middle niece right now, like over the last few months. This is something that's entering into her development and her understanding, is that when someone says no, even though if it's something you want, you have to be like, okay, right? And that's when you hands off, because they said no. Naturally, his reaction to that, she said no, so then his rejoinder, rather than saying, well, that's true, but I really wanted it, or that's true and I'm sorry, but it was really good, or nothing, listen, you know nothing in this castle gives a shave like your halberd, or anything else he had said, he says the worst possible thing, which is...
Which shouldn't matter, because we both know I don't listen to you.
Smug, self-serving asshole. It's all Eugene. Ross, I'm sorry. I hate this guy. I actively... Eugene has, in 4 or 5 episodes, 6 episodes, I guess, technically, drifted into a get-off-my-screen character. He is aggressively unpleasant. And that's why I wanted you to hear. I wanted you to hear the back and forth of their dialogue here. Because, yeah, this is a stupid, self-serving, arrogant, egotistical prick of a 5-year-old. I decided to look into this because you know me and I like to do my due diligence. So I decided to look into the creation of... So one of the reasons I was so delayed here was I was trying to figure out, why is this guy terrible? So I looked up a few scenes, and I only watched a few scenes from the movie, very, very briefly, because I've still got it on Amazon. And lo and behold, he's fine. He's not great. I'm not going to, like, super overpraise him, but he's fine. Okay, so there's an obvious disconnect here. And we start to understand the puzzle pieces from a real-life perspective. Because Eugene is with Rapunzel because of the movie. So they're together. Okay, that makes sense. But now you have handed this story off to a different writing staff, and it is a staff, different directors, different producer, and different mainliner. Like, pretty much every layer of this is being produced by people who had nothing to do with the film. In fact, I actually did a little bit of digging, and I couldn't find any evidence anywhere that they even consulted the actual writers and creators of the film in order to actually bring them in and get any kind of this. So, yeah. Why did they destroy Eugene as a character like this? Like, I wasn't even particularly invested in Eugene as a character from the film, but he was better than this. Pretty much top to bottom. Now, yeah, maybe they're doing... So this is a common trend, actually. They'll do a thing where they just take them and chonk and rewind and reboot them back to default so that they can have an arc. The problem with that is everything I just said. Now, I don't even know if that arc is going to exist in this show. I have absolutely no idea where this is coming from exactly or where they're going with it. And I've been paying attention, and you know I can be very... oh, I can't think of the word. I can parcel out the parts of my brain, right? There's a term for that, and I can't think of it right now. I'm too tired. But I can look at something, and I can pull apart performance. I can pull apart dialogue. I can pull apart character, right? And I can look at them as their individual pieces rather than being confused or having the blurring of the rest of it smear into itself. That's really going to bother me. I want to know what that word is. Compartmentalize. Thank you. That is exactly the word. Thank you. God, that was bugging me. Thank you, Fraser. I'm pretty good at compartmentalization. It just because I've lived a horrible life, but also because it's helpful for analysis. You know, you can look at something. I've talked about this before. You can look at someone, and when you divorce the words from the performance, you can learn a lot about how something was created and what the creators had in mind. No, don't apologize, Ross. Please don't apologize. Please. In fact, if anything, I feel really, really bad because I hate this character. I'm not joking when I say he's drifted into get off my screen territory. And he's it. I like the captain of the guard more than this guy. And he's had like one scene in this episode, like one scene in the first episode, and then like one character arc in whatever the Eugene trying to find a job episode was, and that's it. Cassandra? She's only really had the one big moment in the previous episode, but she's actually already interesting and engaging, and they've already got some details of character for her. She's fine here. I like Pascal better than I like Eugene, and I don't have any opinion on Pascal. So like I said, there is a massive disconnect between movie Eugene and show Eugene. I don't know, Mr. Red. That's a pretty tough bargain. Do you have his amazing shave? Actually, while we're on the subject, there's a bit where Pascal gives the letter to both Cassandra and Eugene. Cassandra's reaction is, huh, okay. And then Eugene's reaction is, and I quote, "If this is another eviction letter!" And just really pay attention to the contrast there. Just in the way that they react to the same basic stimuli, you could see the gap in between these two characters. So yeah, different development studio, different writers, different producers, different directors. The episode is this close to being a good episode. I know this is going to sound absolutely bizarre, but if you just magically Thanos Eugene out of existence, I would have really liked this episode. Because there's some cool and interesting and clever stuff here, and we even get some backstory for Cassandra. We even have some tie-ins with the frickin' twins from back in the movies. I don't remember their names, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's even good moments. There's this moment in this episode where Cassandra, and she could be the romance, because let's be honest, that's what they already wanted. So there's this good scene where she's like, yes, you two will have to work together, or else you'll be stuck down here forever. Oh, and I made you cookies. That's a great moment. It's perfectly in character for her, because she's just having fun with all this, but she's still Rapunzel. So it's a gag, but it's an in-character gag. And if you know me, because I've studied humor so much, and I used to get on MLPs back about this exact same thing, the best kind of humor is humor that's in character. The humor that fits the character, fits the scene, fits the setting, fits the world. And this lines up perfectly. Like, I was actually laughing and enjoying several parts of this episode, and then Eugene would show up. And I hate to keep hammering that point in, but you have to understand, he's so terrible. I actually even, wrote down a couple of things. Like, specifically, he ate half the cookies. She gave them cookies, and he ate half the cookies by himself on the spot right in front of her after drinking all the milk right in front of her. What an asshole. I'm sorry, that is literally Cartman levels of assholery. That is prying off all the chicken skin off the chicken and eating it and then leaving. That is unacceptable. That is, and I use the Cartman example specifically because you have to understand, in that episode where Cartman did that, the point of that scene was that Cartman was the villain. That he had stepped over a line, that he was unrepentantly and unhesitatingly a dick. And the whole episode of South Park that followed through on that one, it's the one where they all pretend he's dead, was trying to get down across the ideas that what he did was so terrible, his friends were done with dealing with him. He made frickin' Kenny cry. You knew the episode. You knew the episode I was referencing. This is unacceptable. Exactly, Ross. Exactly. There's so many moments which feel structured like it should be a both sides have a kind of a thing. Maybe he's right and maybe she's right, and maybe he's wrong and maybe she's wrong. But instead, it's universally one-sided. He contributes nothing positive here, and she contributes very little negative. Now, I'm not saying she's perfect, but you could see how this is so hilariously one-sided. What are you doing? And I hate to say this, but it would make so much disturbing amount of sense if this is on purpose. Why? There's a trick I've seen done a lot in fiction. In fact, we've actually already seen it done on this very show with Monty, where they make them, he was also fine in the pilot, I'll agree with that, where they make a character too much one way, and they exaggerate it too hard and too severe one way, so that when it switches to the other way, it's more of a shock, or more of a twist, or more of a reveal, or more of a development, right? Yeah, it's the caricature thing. So Cassandra is so much in the right here that at this point I am convinced she's going to have a villain arc, because of simple literary constructs, because of the nature of how the show is designed. It feels like they're trying to make her too good of a character so that when she goes villainous, we'll be surprised by it. And then Eugene, who is too terrible of a character over here, is being made so terrible so that when he helps fight against Cassandra, he can switch back over here. Now, I should mention, I don't know anything about this show. I have walked away from nothing here. Like, I'm walking into this completely blind, and that's very much on purpose. But that is the vibe I'm getting, because I cannot understand any other reason why they would go with this severe level of character assassination. Unless it's just bad writing, which is always a possibility. It's possible this is just a bunch of writers who have absolutely no idea what they're doing. Remember, writers, plural. Just like MLP, there's a whole bunch of different writers. I haven't been paying attention as much as I should have been, but... What? And there's so many other different directions they could have taken this. There's even a scene where she figures out something, and then he figures out like the next step of the puzzle. So let's really showcase this scene, okay? She figures out the next step of the puzzle, and she's like, ah, here it is, but I'm not sure what to do next. And so then he figures out the next step of the puzzle, and then spends the next solid 20 seconds rubbing it in her face. Do you see the distinction between these two approaches? Like, it's weird. The episode is going so far out of this way. And I keep finding myself staring at the episode going, why is Rapunzel with this asshole? He has no redeeming features. Is his dick just that big? Is that what this is? Just be honest about it. No judgment. Because there is nothing redeeming about him in the show, not counting the pilot. So, like, 5 episodes of just him being a trash human being. Again, I made the comparison to Cartman for a reason. You are not supposed to root for Cartman. The creators of South Park have said many times in many interviews, anybody rooting for Cartman has issues, because the whole point is that Cartman is a terrible person. Now, there would be a thought. Wouldn't it be interesting if she broke up with Eugene and ended up with Cassandra? I guarantee you they're not going to do that. And you know why? Because I know that little behind-the-scenes tidbit I've already told you about how the writers wanted her to be with Cassandra, and Disney pushed down on that. Even if that was true, this is not the right way to do that. If you wanted to do that, and that's even kind of an interesting story arc. What if Eugene is just her first boyfriend? Because he is. And they don't actually line up all that well. Like, they, in the moment and in the intensity of things, sure. But over time, she starts to realize, and he starts to realize, both of them start to process that they do not actually gel the way that they otherwise should. And so, instead, they start to break apart a little bit. And she has to start to understand the very concept of a breakup, because this is new to her. This is something that's never been introduced to her before. Because remember, she's new to all of this crap. She's in completely over her head. You know, fish out of water, yada, yada, yada. This is... Yeah, you don't marry the first dude you meet. Yeah, this could be a showcasing of a mature breakup. They could stay friends post-breakup. A rarity in real life and in fiction. MLP would do something like that, I guarantee it. MLP... I was actually talking about this recently. MLP was more capable of breaking the status quo than most shows are. Because when MLP breaks the status quo, what they do is they create another toy to be sold. Breaking the status quo means more income from MLP. Why do you think they were willing to do things like actually destroy... sorry, I shouldn't spoil things. Destroy things, let's just say it that way. They were willing to literally change the status quo because that means more merchandise. And it worked. Yeah, the Crystal Castle. Enough said, right? And it worked. I'm sorry for getting so upset about this, but this episode, I think, like, I've been watching this show all day, and this has been aggressively irritating, and it's all on Eugene. So there's this bit where they get close to actually having a decent scene. So they put together the escape room thing. That's actually kind of a nice touch. I like that. And she points out, that's just like you, isn't it? Just sit back and let things fall into your lap. Yeah, that's pretty much how he's been in the show. Should I point out that Eugene literally laid down his life for Rapunzel back in the movie? Do you remember that? I remember that. It's actually one of my favorite scenes in the film. Sorry for spoiling the film, but that was a good freaking scene. Yeah, he literally died. Sorry. So, we get a little bit of backstory. This is when we find out, and this is even good exposition. We find out that this is just kind of slid under the wall that actually she's adopted. That the captain of the guard adopted her. And of course, there's a connection point. Eugene obviously, doesn't have his biological parents either. And so he taught her to focus on the here and now. And she, of course, has no time for dreams, which is pretty much the major theme that Rapunzel herself had even back in the film. Don't you remember that wonderful song in the bar? Haven't you ever had a dream? I mean, come on, that lines in neatly and fits perfectly with the film. Why is Eugene so terrible? I'm sorry. You have to understand that at this point, I'm not even complaining about Eugene, the character. The writers are sabotaging him. Because we are demonstrating in this very scene that the writers have the ability to understand the thematic significance of the film, the relevance of the characters, and use that to develop new characters. And then there's Eugene. Yeah, no, they are straight up sabotaging him, just like the show was sabotaged. Then we cut to a scene which just is awkward and uncomfortable. We see Freeborg, who's, I guess, ugly, and that's the joke. Why is she not talking? Why is this scene here? What is this? But then there's this wonderful bit where they're arguing, and they're just going to break the device and keep being stuck. Okay, cool. We all saw that coming. But as they're arguing, he says, blah, 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 blah. And she says, oh, you're making it about you. He says, oh, yeah, well, I'll make it about you instead. And then he makes it about himself. And then she says, you're making it about you again. To which he responds, and I quote this down word for word, that's because I'm more interesting. Eugene, citation needed. So then the brothers are like, well, haha, we're going to get out. And one of the brothers holds her hostage with a halberd. Like, he's like, I'm going to threaten her with this halberd. It's not even in a position where he could, attack her. He would have to physically recoil like this in order to then attack his hostage. Probably her damaging himself. You can't, that's not how that works, okay? I'm sorry. You can't hold someone hostage with a halberd like that. And then, I'm sorry to keep bashing this episode, but then the brothers are like, all right, time to kill you too. And they literally raise their weapons to murder them. And then they're like, wait. And then the reason they're waiting is because they're talking about how they should only kill one of them and get their murder boner out of the way on Eugene. And then they'll go and do the thing and start arguing about this. But it's like, if the only thing they want to do is kill the one, then why did they even stop themselves? Like, hang on. Let's not kill both of them. Let's kill one of them. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's talk about this for entirely too long. And yet they start freaking monologuing. And I'm sorry, I would be more tolerant of this crap if I wasn't already done with this episode. But instead, the whole thing doesn't work. And then worst of all, the episode does the 1-2 punch of bad character progress. Okay? So first of all, Eugene and Cassandra barely work together in like a 10-second scene in order to be able to then defeat the brothers. Ha ha! And now they're cool, right? That's the first punch. Bam! Right to the face. Just one quick thing and everything's fine. Okay, it's a short show, 22 minutes. I get it. You have to speed run these things. Whatever. But then comes the second punch, because immediately after that, bam! They're right back to the exact same place they were at the beginning of the episode. Status quo is maintained. They even break the vase again. Spoil something for me. Is there a completely Eugene-centric episode in season 1? I'm just curious. I mean, I guess we actually had one already, which was Fitzherbert P.I. Episode 7. In Like Flynn. Oh, yeah, that sounds like... Yeah. Yeah. This episode is salvaged by some good moments and some interesting character tidbits from both Rapunzel and Cassandra. I actually kind of skipped over the Rapunzel moments. We see how she's, we see a little bit of her character. We see that she really likes having time to herself, which could have been a character point by itself. I believe it's the same voice actors, from what I understand. Yeah, so it's not Lamentation. It's too salvaged. But I honestly think this is approaching a one-off. This is pretty dark blue. I am aggressively aggravated by this episode. I am shocked at this episode, to be completely honest with you. This reminds me of that stupid you gotta care, you gotta share episode of MLB. You remember that one? Like, it's almost the exact same vibe I get going through it. It's just aggressively unfunny, character assassinating, and the episode won't stop punching me in the gut as I'm trying to enjoy it. It's the exact same vibe I get. What was that stupid episode called? Pull this up here. Yeah, this actually, ironically, this felt like a bottle episode, as much as you can get one for animation. Over a Barrel. There it is. Season 1, episode 21. Yep, the Bison episode. That's the one. Screw that episode. I think I'm going to cut it here. Dinner's going to be ready soon, and I don't want to rush. So, Sunday, we'll be continuing this with Season 1, Episode 6, Return of Strongbow.